Hey, Danny.
Hi, Lance.
We got a movie to talk about today. I don't know why we needed it, but the resurrection of Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween Resurrection is what we're talking about today. I don't...
See, where we last left you guys off, Michael Myers was decapitated.
He's dead.
The story was ended.
Yeah, we're done.
The story's over. We don't need you guys.
Laurie Strode. killed him.
Laurie, well, what a triumphant ending, by the way, for H2O.
Sure.
For all its flaws, what a triumphant ending. She chopped his head off. She was able to get that closure.
It had an ending.
Thank you. But
I'll take it. Well done.
But 2 years later, here we are. It was 2, yeah? Or was it immediately?
No, it was, I think, 2002. So it's 4 years later.
Oh.
Technically. Right?
I remembered it being quicker. But okay, 2002. No, that's 4 years later.
Yeah.
So, wow. So 4 years later, fans are clamoring for more Michael, and they have probably why they called it Halloween Resurrection.
I guess. During this time, remember, we had Scream in 1996.
Yes.
Which is like the rebirth.
96?
96.
Holy moly.
So remember, we talked about this in H6. We had Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers in 1995. And that was Dimension Films' first horror film. Now we get Scream the next year. And this is like Halloween 6 was like the death of the slashers. It was like a death rattle kind of a thing. We get the swing knife thing kind of starting. We get these weird Scream transitions, and then we get Scream, and it's this whole new world of horror movies.
But now Scream is a character. It's breaking the fourth wall. It's throwing the slasher tropes or the rules, as they highlight a lot, in your face.
Right. And now we get all of these trickling down a new teenage era of movies, because we're starting to get like adults, you know what I mean? Like Halloween 6, we had a lot more adults in. I know the Friday movies or Jason movies, we're killing off more adults. It's more adult. Okay. Now we're going back to teenagers, right? But we're going like late 90s into the 2000s. We're starting to get
at least teenagers or actors that look like teenagers, not like not like the T-Birds in Grease.
Teenage story with adult actors.
It's supposed to be teenagers, but
we're getting a lot of slashers. So we have to bring Michael back because the slashers are back. So, okay, Michael's back in. We get H2O. Jamie Lee Curtis says, hey, let's make this it's been 20 years. Let's make this a big deal. Let's bring everybody back. We kind of get some people. It was a movie. It was a film. But through the 2000s, we get all these old school slashers again in a new like twist, like a 2000s version of it.
Right. That's the best way to describe it. The 2000s. And that's what this movie is. Halloween Resurrection. It's just a 2000s version of Halloween.
Yes.
And if you know anything or remember, if you can, about the early 2000s, it was like 90s, but
millennial.
Yeah, it was just edgier. It was like or not edgier. It was like the lights were brighter,
shinier.
Yes, shinier 90s.
Yes,
that's what the early 2000s. That's what I remember. Everything was like the clothes were bigger on people. Like everything was just like heavy. Like Anyway,
yes, and but again, we're getting a lot of different slashers at this point. I think H2O kind of put a wrench on Michael Myers and the Halloween franchise because they went, "Oh, he's a moneymaker at this point."
Yeah,
so that's what we have to deal with going on. And we'll get into some more of what's going on with Michael in this time. But for right now, for everyone else that has not seen Halloween Resurrection, Danny, what is our pumpkin spice latte of Halloween Resurrection?
The pumpkin spice latte for Halloween Resurrection, or as I like to call it, the commercial cash grab of the Halloween franchise. Halloween Resurrection takes place immediately, maybe a year after the events of Halloween H2O, which if you saw the Halloween H2O, it ends with Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, decapitating Michael Myers in a very grandiose, sort of awesome form or fashion. And then Halloween Resurrection nixes all that. Well, they allow they make the viewer believe that they are stupid. Here's what it is. It was never Michael that she decapitated. She decapitated an EMT that Michael Myers decided to switch places with in an attempt to just fool everyone. So he switches places with an EMT, puts that EMT in the mask so that Laurie can drive that EMT down the road, eventually throwing him out the window, crashing in between a tree, getting paralyzed, sort of, reaching out to Laurie for help. But you're wondering, well, if this was an EMT, why didn't he pull off his mask and say, hey, I'm not Michael?
I'm not Michael, dummy.
No, he couldn't do that because, as they explain in Halloween Resurrection, his larynx was crushed.
Right.
Can't talk. You die of suffocation. What? So, Halloween Resurrection now, Michael is still here, and the movie centers on now committed, not centers, but it features a committed Laurie Strode, still reprised by Jamie Lee Curtis, now in an insane asylum where Michael is to finish her off and start a new chapter with a sort of investigative journalist, cyber cams on your head, a bunch of kids that are thrown into the Michael Myers house to investigate the true reason as to why Michael went crazy. Michael's just returning home after completing his task of, spoiler, he kills Jamie Lee Curtis, his character of Laurie Strode. He returns home. He finds all these people up in his crib, and he wreaks havoc on them. And that's the movie.
That's my favorite ending. That's the movie.
We're gonna probably go in a little bit of detail, but like this is the time of a lot of reality, sort of in your face. We want to see the behind the scenes. So where this movie faults, I think, is not in its ambition.
Yeah.
It was ambitious, but
remember what Danny said. This is a cash grab. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but let's see, 98 was last H2O. Do you remember the big horror film in 1999?
Obviously, but you tell everybody.
That's a no. The Blair Witch Project.
Ah, yes. The
super low budget POV handheld cameras.
Making me sick in the theater. I suffer from motion sickness. What?
So that movie did so well in the theater.
Killed it.
Off of no budget. There's 3 people, handheld cameras. They got the MTV crew running around the woods making effects go off and all this
Real
kind
quick,
of stuff.
You want to talk about independent films? That was the highest grossing independent film that had beat what was previously, I think, Ninja Turtles. But before that was Halloween 1978, the OG. So there is a bit of a connection.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of connection to this. So again, we've talked about the internet coming into play and all this kind of stuff. Like, internet is somewhat new. It's developing at this point. We're talking about live streaming things. So now and during this time, I think right after H6 into H2O and beyond, they start asking the fans, like, what do you think Michael should do?
No, but they actually asked us. Do you remember?
Yes.
On the actual websites. And this is like, I don't know, maybe a little bit like when the Batman comics asked you what should happen to Robin when it was Jason Todd. Yep. And all the fans decided, kill him. So I remember because I voted. Yeah. I think I wrote in or something like that because I think the options were like, what do you want to see Michael do? And it was like, one of them I know is, do you want to see Michael go to space? I swear I saw that, and whoever voted for that, it didn't win, obviously, thank God. That was an option because I guess that's the last scary frontier. Nobody could hear you scream in space.
Well, I mean, back then, everything was kind of an option. After H6, he's pumped full of the green goo, and people start saying, like, he's a cybernetic like federal agent or something like that.
He's on the government's payroll.
I remember the big one was that they're going to put Michael Myers in court, and the whole movie was going to be like playback of what he had done and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be on trial for all this.
Well, we saw him in Halloween 5 playing with a chain. Yeah, so you've already humanized him enough. Why not put him on trial?
Just waiting for all of that, plus H2O introduced like the fandom again, and they went, oh, we can make a lot of money off of our fans. there's actually a fan that gets put into, I don't know if it was H2O or Resurrection.
I think it was Resurrection.
I believe it was Resurrection as well.
There was like a contest, right?
There's a contest, and they get like one of the biggest fans. She's actually in the documentary, which you can see her actually get the part kind of thing. I have no idea where she is in the movie. We just watched it.
I think it was like a featured extra.
But so this is, I think, just playing up the fandom and trying to get a paycheck out of everything. This is Dimension Films, so there's a really sad, shiny, clean look to all of the films back then.
I mean, they first of all, we are so far removed from anything that is a Halloween movie at this point.
Yeah,
like this is the, I want to say almost bastardization, but super commercialized version of Halloween. We see his eyes fully. I'm going to talk about the mask now because this is my deal. I hate this ever loving mask, and the reason I can pick on this mask more than I think, well, we did pick on the H2O masks.
Yeah.
Notice what I said.
Masks.
Masks. At least this one was one mask.
Right.
But the first image you get of Michael, the first time you see him in this movie, his hair is poofed out as if he just teased it. You know, he got a Brazilian or a Haddonfield blowout. He got it that day. He got a Haddonfield blowout that day. And his eyebrows are threaded, tweezed.
Yeah, your favorite.
I hate it. First of all, I love getting my eyebrows tweezed, but Michael shouldn't be getting... He's walking in and he's like hitting that Magnum look, you know, he's very he's hitting that look, very Zoolander. So what it did was he didn't scare me anymore, but I was like kind of looking at him like, oh, you look kind of cute, Michael.
I kind of said this before. He looks like a super villain from a comic book movie, which I've kind of said, like, I always saw Michael as that anyway. But when you actually play down to it, it's like, oh, I don't like it as much now.
No, I don't, because the scariness of Michael Myers in the original and, you know, a few after that, they at least kept the integrity of keeping him in the shadows and he's the shape. You know, this one they drove hard. They treated him, yes, by definition should be considered a serial killer, but they were throwing out a lot of, there's a huge there's a mental patient where they're keeping Laurie, who is obsessed with serial killers. So they were driving that in front of us, you know, like they were saying Dahmer and Bundy and Gacy, and, you know, they kept on throwing these names out at you, and you're like, well, I guess if I didn't think of him as one of these human people like you're throwing around, like these serial killers that are so well known, I do now.
Right.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all because the shape itself is scary.
Right.
Michael Myers with a Haddonfield blowout with tweezed eyebrows, walking very like, he looked like Puffy, you know, not Puff Daddy, but
you know what? Like, if we're talking about Michael already, then let's talk. He just looks like he took everything from H2O. I mean, he's got the arms kind of poked out.
Yeah,
he looks like that weird baby doll Michael that we got in H2O, and I feel like that's what he watched. He didn't go back and watch it. Who's our Michael in this one?
We have a new Michael. It's another stuntman, I believe. His name is Brad Lorre.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice guy. I've met him at the conventions. He's one of these stuntmen / actors who was just. He knew what he was in. Yeah. He knew that he took it seriously, which you always appreciate. But anything with such a fervent fandom like Halloween has, if you're going to take liberties with it, you have to be very careful and very precise. And I just felt like maybe he was directed, or maybe he was like, well, I have H2O. I can see what worked because H2O made money. It was successful.
Right.
And now it's like another, I mean, whatever. It's a movie monster. It's Frankenstein. It's Dracula. Michael Myers is this huge movie monster. So, you know, there's some interpretation, but if you want to appease the fans who are the ones that are going to show out in droves and watch it multiple times, you have to kind of pay respects to what made it work.
Right. And there's the opening is kind of cool. It's like the highlight of the movie. It's kind of like H2O for me, where it's just like I can watch the first 5 minutes of this movie and that's okay. That's not bad. Michael hits the asylum. There's an opening shot of the hallway that reminds me of H6, which I love. You can see the little lanterns going down. So I was like, all right, sure. We're paying a little homage to that. But then there's a POV of Michael, and it's like him bouncing his head off the door to try to get into Jamie.
Like
Jamie Lee Curtis.
what are we? I mean, okay. Also, don't want to. I have to mention the director is Rick Rosenthal,
right?
Director of Lance's favorite sequel of all time, Halloween 2. And he just dropped the ball on this one. But you know what, Lance? I mean, I'm not going to shit on the dude because I watched the documentaries. You hear the way he talks about it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if I'm the studio, you're getting Rick Rosenthal, who directed Halloween 2, and you're getting Jamie Lee back, even if it is in a limited capacity, you should knock some of it out of the park. But this is one of the worst installments of the franchise, widely considered by all fans, and it's not a great movie either.
They completely abandon everything that is Halloween. But I mean, look at what he had to work with. Everything's done on a set, basically. There's nothing organic about the film. We're not in Pasadena. We're not anywhere like that. There's maybe one or two shots that are outdoors, maybe.
Right. No, it's
and you
very
can
much
tell,
on the set.
like when they're in the asylum and they go outside, they kind of pay homage to 2, I feel like, with the security guard going outside. But like everything is perfectly like cut grass, and everything just looks like a set. Everything is lit like a set. And
it's just like when she looks out, Jamie Lee, when Laurie Strode looks out, they're giving her pills to, because she's been mute since. And what I learned about being mute, if you go through a traumatic experience, it's called selective. Well, you can. It's something that you can go through. So. She's going through that.
Right.
They're giving her meds. The nurses I thought that was entirely too lazy for me. I hated it that as soon as the movie starts, it's 2 nurses discussing what we're supposed to know. I mean, it's like, oh, did you hear? Everything you know about Halloween H2O is wrong. I just hate that because not only do you just you're just kind of taking the last part of a movie that ended in a pretty high note, H2O, and you're eliminating it just so you can make a sequel. Right. And to me, I'm like, pues que onda? That's not okay, It's not fair. So these 2 nurses are filling you in, and they tell you about the larynx being crushed of the EMT, right. Blah, blah, blah. So they're giving Laurie her meds, and it's shown that she's not actually this quiet sort of disturbed person. I mean, her hair is longer, so she looks more like traditional Laurie. Right. But she's taking the pills. These, I don't know, they're meds, whatever. I don't know what they are. But she's faking like she's taking them. She's hiding them in a Raggedy Ann doll that she's got. You thought that would, come into play, but it's just she's not taking her pills. Nope. But as soon as she looks out the door, here's what I'm trying to get to. As soon as she looks out the window, she sees Michael standing in the lawn in like the most well-kept lawn ever. It's like so lush, and
it's so lush, but it's so short at the same time.
Exactly.
It's the perfect rolled out carpet grass.
He looks so out of place. He's just staring there like
there's nothing around him. There's no trees. He's just like, hey.
I was waiting for him to just be like, hi.
Yeah.
Raise his hand and just start waving at her.
It's comic. It really is like comedic how out there he is, and there's just nothing. There's a perfect spotlight on him. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, so
and she's just waiting for him, and that's I guess the point of this. But this whole scene that you're talking about felt like it was rushed after production. Like, shit, none of this makes sense, and it doesn't. Let's tie into the franchise somehow. We're still not addressing 4, 5, and 6 at all, right?
But even then, are you even because I talked about this inmate that's a huge fan of the serial killers,
right?
And he kind of messes with the security guards. Because he's got a clown mask on. Maybe that's an homage, obviously. And he sneaks out. So these security guards are like, oh, it's Harold again, right? So they're like, Harold, get back in. But Harold sneaking out is the glitch that let Michael sneak in, which is so weird. Because now Michael is shown in the woods just waiting. It doesn't match anyway. It's just like it's an insert shot that they did later to show that he was gonna sneak in. It didn't. It's anyway. So Harold is this super fan of serial killers, and even the security guard says who are you supposed to be like? He's like John Wayne Gacy, and the guy's actually pretty funny. You know, he's just this very full of life dude. He's wearing a clown mask, and he apparently takes the personas of different serial killers that he learns about.
Right.
So the reason that's how Michael breaks in, but it's it just I don't know what any of this is for and or necessary.
It's for the fans. It has to be for the fans. I thought he was the super fan that got put into the movie, to be honest. He's much better of an actor, but
he's great.
The way he sets up Michael, and then the worst part of all is Michael walks into his room and
right.
The knife,
okay, so
yeah, here you go. Here's a token of, oh, you're a fan of mine. Here you go.
I mean, me being a super defender, when I was watching, I'm like, oh, he's implicating that guy in the murders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was me giving it too much credit.
Way too much credit.
But because, like, yeah,
it's like a cute moment from Michael and one of his fans.
I know. It's just like Michael. Okay, so Laurie and Michael have a stand. She's waiting for him this whole time. She gets him like strung up. Here's the part that I was like yelling at the TV when I watched it recently. I wasn't yelling I'm going to be honest. I wasn't yelling in the theaters.
You were a fan at that point. You were so excited to see it. Yes, it's Michael. Okay. It's my hero, right?
Yeah, it was fine. I was giving him so much like leeway. Right. It's not his fault.
No, it's not Michael's fault.
I mean, it's his tailor's fault or his barber because they blew out his hair. Okay, I'm not going to get over it. I swear to God, I'm not going to get over it. But when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So anyway, Laurie sets him up and Michael is caught in this booby trap that strings him up on the roof upside down, and Laurie is like, I've been waiting for you. She's gonna end it again because she was like, I thought I ended it, but I really didn't end it, but now I'm really gonna end it. So what she was gonna do, because obviously this would kill Michael, she's going to cut the rope that he's hanging from upside down and drop him 2 stories.
Right. So she has to lead. Her whole plan is to lead him up to the roof where there's a random ass crane.
Yeah. That she's been setting up that nobody has gone up to check.
Yeah. So and he goes to the perfect spot. Mm-hmm. She leaves no trail for him to go to the exact spot that he needs to be in to get his foot. It's like a fucking
it's Looney Tunes. Yeah. A Wile E. Coyote and then the Roadrunner.
And it's like the smallest little like hole for his foot to fit in. He goes right to the spot. And she comes from behind and
traps him, yanks him up
upside down. Now he's hanging off the side of a building of the sanitarium.
They should have just added the Benny Hill.
The Keystone Cop. Just do the Keystone Cops from 5. Yeah, they should have added. Where's that at?
That's all that was left as far as this moment. But God bless, and I love to death Jamie Lee Curtis. I watched this documentary. And she is such a pro. You could tell this was a movie deal sort of thing. Like she was signed into a picture deal, right? You know what I mean?
It was she because she was the one that approached them for H2O.
No, I'm talking about. I think Resurrection. I don't know. I mean, she does. Okay, look. She talks about in the behind the scenes that you have to have a finality. She wanted to end the chapter. But it was already ended. So I guess if you feel like something's going to be made without you, whether you're in it or not, maybe you can at least put a bow on it. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe she was like, well, okay, they're going to make Resurrection anyway. I might as well like be a part of it and try to give them the finality. That way they can continue forward.
Okay.
Maybe. Because look, think about it. If you're synonymous or you are, I mean, Halloween, that's her baby. Yeah. As far as like, that's what launched her. There's a bit of a, loyalty or you feel it's important to you. So I get the reasoning coming back.
Right.
But I do remember seeing her do a couple of publicity interviews and her just being like, kind of like someone asked her, hey, so did you, the last movie you did this, did you have a good time doing this movie? Or some setup question that was stupid like that. Right. And she has the Resurrection poster behind her. And which her hair doesn't match, by the way. But anyway, she goes, look at my face. Does it look like I'm going to have a good time? And it's just the way like Jamie Lee, she's iconic like that. She'll just put people in their place. But so back to the movie, she's going to cut the rope to drop him to his death. But what does he do?
Oh no.
He does the move that he wouldn't even know the EMT did from H2O.
Well,
he wouldn't know. Was he just
this is how far away are we from H2O though? And the world of Haddonfield and Michael Myers.
No. What I'm saying, okay,
we were removed from that section. The nurses know about it, so it's a story that's out there. So people do know about it.
That he grabbed his head?
No, but the fact that she killed the wrong guy.
That's fine, but he does the move of grabbing his head, which is what she has a flashback back to H2O. Michael wouldn't know that he did that.
Okay. Well, then,
honestly, nobody would unless she was like, yeah, right before I chopped his head.
I don't know why I'm defending this, but
I don't know either. What's going on?
But to me, it made sense. I'm like, oh no, like that story should be out there. And if the nurses know about it, whatever.
Anyway, Michael finessed her. She got close to make sure it was him, and he was able to get her.
Tries to take his mask off.
Yeah. They had a struggle.
Yes.
They both go over the ledge, and he catches himself holding the rope, but he stabs Laurie in the back.
It's something I want to talk about too. There's always been tension for me to somebody taking his mask off. I mean, it's just like any superhero or villain or anything, but there's always so much tension. Like you kind of want to see what's under there, right?
Right. It's like in Batman '89, right? When they're pulling the mask off, and
every movie where there's a masked character, you're like, oh, let's see it. Especially if you never see them, like Michael. So
it's like, but then. Sometimes when like in Friday the 13th, when they do get his mask off and you're like, put it back on. No.
Right.
But anyway, Michael Myers has killed Laurie Strode finally.
What'd you think of their kiss?
So what was that for? But also Brad Laurie, who plays Michael, says that was how he met Laurie. That's how he met Jamie Lee Curtis.
That she was like, the first scene or what?
No, that before they shot it, that she was like, "Hi, I'm Jamie," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Brad. I'm playing Michael." Okay, so this is the first scene. This is what we're gonna do. And she went up and kissed him.
Okay.
And that Brad's girlfriend was there at the time, and he was like, "What? I guess I get to kiss Jamie Lee Curtis." So anyway, that's how the movie opens. Jamie Lee Curtis's character of Laurie Strode are gone.
Yes.
But are they gone forever?
Oh, God, please. So Michael walks out. He hands his knife off to his superfan.
Who ends up... But here's the problem. Again, another plot hole. Are we believing that this storyline is Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, and now this one? Because if it is, as soon as he gives the knife over to Harold starts saying... Oh, Michael Myers. Right. And he starts saying his stats because that's what he does. He says the stats of the serial killers. And he starts saying the stats of Michael, and the kills don't add up as far as the number.
The movies, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he got the numbers wrong from how many he killed on the night of Halloween 2.
Right.
So, anyway.
Right. It was a cool character. It was a cool idea. For me, that's where the movie ends.
It's just a bit lazy, but anyway, that's actually where the movie starts. For the love of God.
For me, it ends. I will probably never watch the rest of it from here on out. But
I said the same thing when I had to. I didn't have to, obviously. I love these movies. They all have something. They all have at least one thing that you can remember, and you can say, that was okay. I'll let you know when I remember the one for Resurrection. But that's where the movie starts. Okay, so Busta Rhymes is in this movie. Busta Bus, he's in this movie. Okay, so now that is the second in a row hip-hop artist that is being cast in a Halloween movie. Previously, LL Cool J, H2O.
Ronnie.
All right. And we liked Ronnie.
We wanted more for Ronnie.
We did. We wanted more for Ronnie, but I don't like Freddy. That's Busta Rhymes' character name is Freddy. So it almost feels like either the producers or the writer or the director, whoever's making these calls, it's just like, they'll like this shit. His name is Freddy.
I feel like one of the Akkads came up with this one of like, oh yeah, Busta Rhymes, he's a thing, right? Let's throw Busta Rhymes in there. We did LL Cool J, so
let's give Busta though a little bit of credit. He was hot off of some movies he had done previously. He was. I mean. Not
what movies?
It was in Shaft.
Okay, all right, that's right. He was.
And then, and you know what? For all that we're saying and shitting on poor Bust, he's not terrible. He's not terrible at conveying emotion, at being an actor. He's not terrible. He's not the worst in this movie. I'll tell you that.
He's playing himself in this movie, though,
and that's okay. Sometimes you could just play yourself.
He's got inner dialogue. He's bringing up his kung fu movies, which he's a huge fan of.
He's also got one sideburn.
He does. I forgot.
LL did made very popular the one pant leg up.
Yeah.
So Busta Rhymes was doing the one sideburn.
One sideburn.
Ask me if I tried to do it.
Please don't tell me. Did you try to do this?
No.
Oh, thank God.
I did have long chops though.
His dialogue in this film he's got a lot of inner monologue going on, kind of like he talks to himself, like he does the pat in the back.
Get him.
Yes,
get whacked, Chung Lee.
It's Busta Rhymes just playing Busta Rhymes in this movie,
which is fine because, like, okay, so Busta Rhymes' character is the head of this Dangertainment, which is putting these kids who win a scholarship because it's around these kids who should be in college, winning a scholarship to enter the Myers house to do investigative journalism, and they're just supposed to be locked in a whole night. The cool thing is that this is when I talked about being ambitious, this is the cool thing about this movie was that those those headsets, head cameras or whatever that they wore were actually running the entire time, and they pretty much stayed in character for extended periods of time doing the dialogue. There's a feature that you can watch, the headcam featurette, where it's what you see in the movie, because the movie goes between headcam footage and, regular film, which I really appreciated because, it kept my equilibrium in check. But at the same time, I don't know. Again, that is not the brand. That is not the brand of Halloween. It's made it sometimes too much of a good thing. In this case, too much film or camera, or too much of a movie, because like we were clamoring as fans for more Halloween, Halloween, and we got a super visible depiction of it. I mean, so these the head cams is a nice, fun idea. But it just not for this movie, not for this franchise.
The thing that I've always said about Michael is he stands out because of the seriousness of his story. We've had Dr. Loomis, which we no longer have. He's gone. We haven't had him since H6. Rest in peace, Donald Pleasance.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that's where the tone of the movies gets totally lost. We don't take it seriously anymore. Now, I think in H2O, especially H2O, and now Resurrection, we're adapting Michael to the environment of horror films. You know what I mean? We're in H2O, we're adapting him to the new Scream world, which there had been 2 Screams by this point. And now we're adapting him to the Blair Witch and everything else that's popular. And that's not Michael. Michael has a great fucking story to tell. And the little tidbits that we get from Loomis or whoever, Jamie Lee Curtis's characters, and Daniel Harris, all these characters that have interacted with Michael. Michael has a different story than anybody else, but now we're adapting him into the world that we're in, and it's really unfortunate for a few movies.
You're absolutely right. Every director decides from the beginning what story they're going to tell. Is it a Loomis story? Is it a Laurie story? Right. Is it a Jamie story? Or is it a Michael story? And and for all that, you could probably make a decent movie out of each one, but I don't know if the Halloween franchise is about Michael.
No,
I don't. I've always said it is the story of Laurie.
Yeah,
that's me personally. And I love the Loomis character. He's very supporting, but I think that at its core, it survives and it thrives when you look at what Laurie goes through. Mm-hmm. That being said, this movie, again, you hit it perfectly when you said it's been thrust. It's now being forced into the trope of what is horror movies and or slashers. High body count. That is not, and I've said this before, Michael Myers Halloween movies are not body count movies.
Right.
So you introduce a bitch load of characters that we're not going to give a shit about because we don't care about them because it's too much to take into right away. So you're like, oh, they're all going to die. It's just now a guessing game of who's going to die first or whatever.
Right. What I don't even know the survivor. I don't even know the names of most of these characters. I mean, our main girl we were introduced to. Do you remember the scene? They try to.
I don't know.
In college. You probably haven't seen it in a while. I've seen it twice ever.
No. I saw it recently.
Okay. She's in college. We're in college. This is Scream 2, basically. She's in the back of the class. We have a psychology teacher.
Played by Rick Rosenthal, the director.
Okay, great. Who gives a shit? Because it's the least intelligent thing. Do we remember Halloween 1? Let's go back to Halloween 1. Jamie Lee Curtis is in the back. Laurie Strode, very smart character, right? We get a very intelligent answer to a question. we're in psychology 101 apparently, because the only thing they ask about young psychology, and the only thing you could know about young psychology is the shadow figure, right? And that's her answer is the shadow figure. That's it.
Hey.
It is not an intelligent answer.
No.
You open a book, you'll find out what young psychology is and the shadow figure. So
far removed are we from the Constantine wrote about fate only about religion, whereas Samuel thought, well, fate was a natural element like earth, wind, fire, and water. That was Laurie Strode's answer as Jamie Lee Curtis, and here we just get the shadow.
The shadow figure. What? Oh, okay. So obviously we're not as intelligent on this film anymore. So if we're telling a story about Michael, Laurie, Loomis, Jamie, who's the story about in this film?
I don't know. Even if it is about Michael, it really isn't, because everything is set up to be cannon fodder. Everything is set up to be red herrings. Everything is set up to be misinformation or misguidance. It's all, first of all, these students in college win this scholarship to go investigate this school. There's no like rhyme or reason as to who was picked, but I don't know if this is one of the worst cast movie, because Sean Patrick Thomas is in this movie. We remember him from Save the Last Dance. Yeah. We remember him from I didn't watch that movie, but anyway,
I remember the movie.
Oh yeah. So he's in it and he plays this like chef culinary student who's like obsessed with eating, yet is like,
he's a nutritionist, or he wants to be a nutritionist, I think. And a chef.
Fine. Okay. He wants to be a nutritionist. You know what? Then I'm not going to say what I was going to say, because like,
please do.
I love eating. So cast me as the fan of the food because of the way I look, but he's a nutritionist. That actually makes more sense, that he's a little bit more, he's cut. He's a good looking dude. So they show him chopping celery and stuff. But anyway, it is strike you strange that these 3 friends in the same college all got the scholarship. It was just like, there's no reasoning as to why, who gets what, or who gets into this, gets to go into the Myers house.
Well, especially because we get the interviews later. They do these interviews, and Busta Rhymes is like frustrated with every single one of them. So why did you choose them?
Exactly. Well, because if you have to watch the deleted scenes, but in the deleted scenes, it showed that Tyra Banks' character, Tyra Banks is in this movie as well.
Oh boy!
Chose everybody
on her own. Or?
Yeah, that she was the talent scout.
Okay.
But here's the thing: if you want to, I've always said this, and anybody could agree. If you're gonna care about somebody dying, you gotta make me care about the character.
Right.
So what was deleted a lot was the best stuff they had in this movie. A lot of you should show the testimonials in full. That way we learn more about the characters.
Right.
They show bits and pieces. It's over like it's overscored or underscored actually with like rock music as it's going through. So it's very like cookie cutter. You're like, okay, I can snooze through this because I don't care. Oh, Henry Rowan Gardner's in it from Rookie of the Year and American Pie, right? Thomas Ian Nicholas. So you're like, okay, some of these people are gonna die, but I just don't care. I don't care who they are. They cast every day. You got the smart earthy vegan girl, I suppose. You got the against authority rock dude who says Michael Myers is all of us. Is he a
filmmaker? He's a filmmaker, right?
Music major.
Oh, music major. That's
so he's
right.
He's an art
Artiste.
guy, artiste. But all these people that were selected, it doesn't really make any sense. But what doesn't make sense the most was that you introduced this ridiculous, comical, stupid thing that the lead character, the final girl, has the ability to scream so loud that she shatters glass.
But Lance, she doesn't really have the ability because they had to dub her screams after the fact.
Come on, man.
Yes, there's nothing organic about this film whatsoever.
We are super fans and we are trying our hardest to defend this movie and to make you want to watch it. And I think we have done admirably in the past to make you want to watch these movies. But oh my sweet Jesus, why are you insulting our intelligence as Halloween fans?
Are you a Disney fan?
Of all things Disney?
Yes.
Sure.
Ryan Merriman's in this from Luck of the Irish.
Hey, Ryan Merriman.
All right.
That's Deckard?
Yes.
Deckard, wasn't he in Smart House too? No, I'm thinking of somebody else. Anyway, this again, another sort of thing that doesn't have a payoff that it did in an original ending. Gosh, guys, this is so messy.
Theatrical, the only version you can actually watch
the version you have seen before. Ryan, what is his name? Merriman plays Deckard, who is connected to the lead character as a pen pal or cyber pen pal. They are email friends because he helped her do some sort of tech support. Sure. She's a senior, he's a freshman. That is highlighted between his little sidekick who is like, dude, this is, what are you doing, man? We gotta go to a party. And he just wants to, chat with his friend who is Sarah, is her name?
Sure.
Okay. Her name is
really
Bianca
forgettable. I'm sorry.
Is her real name. But anyway, that's set up this connection, but it's like an online sort of connection. You had online friends before.
Yeah, we're forcing the point. This is the environment. This is the real world. And we're going to try to get to everyone in this film.
Yeah.
We're going to connect to every single one of you. And that's what we're going to do.
Fine. Okay. But anyway, fast forward. They're set up. Everybody's got a head cam on. Everybody goes into the Myers house.
It's very fast paced. Like,
oh yeah,
it is a bang bang kind of movie. Like,
and there are cameras. This is meant to be that what they're going to do is they're going to broadcast live, and people from home can tune in and see them investigate the.
Right. Yeah.
How does any of that actually plausible with Michael trying to stalk them in the shadows? Won't people be like seeing him? There's cameras absolutely everywhere. But he is so stealthy that he's able to kill the tech that is setting up the cameras with his own tripod and just gets away with it. Like nobody sees it.
They're setting up the cameras, they're setting up the lighting for the night. Who's our tech in this? Tyra
Banks.
Tyra Banks is making a macchiato in the background. She leaves the cameras. And
she's in Video Village or whatever.
We get this bizarre tripod kill, which makes literally no sense. There are spikes on certain tripods, but the fact that they have one for this shot makes no sense. Why would you have a tripod there? The slow, and now he's holding a gun. Michael Myers is like holding this gun, and it almost looks like, and then
they just wanted to make sure that they got that shot of the tripod slowly going in, and the tech just backs up so slowly and just lets it. He even grabs it. He's like, "Are you gonna stab me with this? Stab me in the chest?" And he just does. Excuse me. It's just so bizarre that kill after kill, it is so gone from everything we fell in love with.
And don't forget, Michael puts the camera in the perfect spot, right in the corner, right where it was. Because he's a film major as well, Michael Myers. He's seen enough of his own films at this point.
Why did Michael return? If this is like, what are some of, like, if you go to anywhere where there was like a famous murder, or you go like to the childhood home of they're like doing tours and whatever. Right. Okay, so the Myers house has been condemned, but he's returning. So like, have you been living there the whole time? Somebody must have seen you. Well, I have been living at home this whole time. I've just been living underneath the house.
Okay.
As a sewer rat.
Right. Oh my God, where do we go with this? Where do you even start on this point?
Well, what it was he felt bad about the setup that the Mountain Man had in Halloween 5, and he created the exact same setup under his
but this shit's like a full tunnel that goes underneath this house. I mean, this is the perfect.
Yeah, these are like the catacombs of France or something.
Yeah, Paris. Seriously, it's like beautiful. Like, I would fucking live down there. But one of my favorite parts of this is our nutritionist friend goes into the kitchen once they've already started the broadcast and all this kind of stuff, and he smells. He like goes to the kitchen, sees a brand new knife. Okay, that's great. Opens up the spices and goes, "These smell fresh." Michael Myers is a cook. Did you know that?
Oh my God.
What do you think he cooks? What's like Michael Myers' favorite meal to cook at home?
Oh, I know. It's dog. Remember? Because he eats dogs.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. He eats dogs.
No, he doesn't.
Okay. Anyway, better not.
He's hungry, but he doesn't.
He better not touch Loomis or Charles.
That's right.
Anyway, here we are.
So,
We're deep in it. Michael's already killed, and he's going to keep on killing slowly but surely. Guys, this movie... It sucks. It's so bad.
Yeah.
I can't defend it really that much. I'll say that there's some also, okay, anybody who's ever talked to me about my thoughts on trailers misleading fans knows how much I hate that shit because and okay.
Well, welcome to the franchise, Dan.
Well, absolutely. Okay, so remember when Hereditary was coming out, right?
Yes.
Hereditary came out. By the way, I love Hereditary, the movie. I think it's fantastic. But when I was in theaters and or seeing the trailer anywhere, Hereditary came out and they said the scariest movie, scarier even than The Exorcist or something like that. And they made sure to tell you that. Mm-hmm. So you have set up an entire generation of people who were terrified by The Exorcist to go into this movie expecting something, and they don't get it and they hate you for it.
Right.
So that was my problem with the way they marketed Hereditary. Okay, flash backwards. Flashpoint paradox. This movie was heavily marketed, like big time. I remember seeing this trailer every single day almost when it was coming out. And there were kills that were like, ooh, Michael's going to do that.
Right.
And one of the coolest things I've ever seen, not since Halloween 5 have I ever seen Michael in water, but there was a scene where he raises up out of the tub. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
He raises up out of the tub and kills whoever's in or is about to attack whoever's in the restroom.
Right.
Not in the movie.
Right.
Not anywhere. I can't find that shit. No. Just only do you see it in a trailer.
Right. You know why this was advertised so much is it's the MTV era. We got Busta Rhymes in it. MTV is still cool. They still play a few music videos here and there. But
yeah, it was TRL.
It was TRL, but it was popular at that time. Yeah. So we are seeing it everywhere. We're seeing it on MTV all the time because that's where it's being broadcast the most. And unfortunately, it's not at all what we got. And one of the more terrifying things for me ever is if you have a shot in a video game. We've talked about like video games freak us out more than horror films or even like a real experience.
No, dude, yes.
But yeah, so one of my least favorite scares is being in the darkness and shining light on something that you didn't know was there. Like that is one of the more terrifying. It's always terrifying me.
Yeah, that's good.
When I that's good.
No, that's good stuff.
Like when I would take the trash out or something at my parents' house, you go around the corner, it's completely pitch dark. What the fuck am I going to find? So there's a shot in the trailer, and I think it excited me as a kid when I was watching the trailer of them shining the light. Michael's in the corner kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So when I watched the movie this time around, I realized how much they're like, it's a really cheesy scene, unfortunately, of like, oh, what's going on over here? And then he like, make sure to point the flashlight.
Who the hell it looks through a room like that? What's over here?
Yeah, it's so obvious. Unfortunately,
your flashlight is pointing the opposite of your eye line. That's just.
Yes. So, I mean, there's points of it. Kevin from which we just talked about from American Pie. There's parts of this that feels like American Pie.
Yeah.
The cheesiness of it. But it's not the good old 80s cheese, horror cheese. It's this weird 2000s. We think it's funny, so we're going to put it in there, and it's not.
Yeah, and also, why are you casting Henry Rowan Gardner, Thomas Ian Nicholas? Why are you casting him as the biggest freaking horn dog in the world? Yeah. He's like aggressively and hitting on this one girl and just like being like totally creepy about it. I hated that.
He's not a bad actor. Like he's great in American Pie and all this kind of stuff, but his clothing choice, like nothing about him really fits the film at all. And I don't even know how to even talk about some of the kills. I mean,
like some of the kills are inventive. Some of them are just like, just classic, like a stabbing. They try to, I guess, like he gets Sean Patrick Thomas or whatever, and he stabs him through a door, and he's like elevated. So maybe a little bit of Bob from the originals in there.
Yeah, our lead Sarah, if that's her name, slips in blood, which is actually done better than Halloween 2 because it's a little more realistic. But there's that shot of just blood splattered and the victim's like right there, I think.
So anyway, the big twist of this movie is that Freddy, played by Busta Rhymes, has set these people up with fake props that are being like scattered around, like, you know, body parts or like, you know, things to like old photo albums, things that were just like placed there that even at one point he was Sean Patrick Thomas's character says this ain't right. They're like, I know it's messed up, it's so twisty. He's like, no, it's like, this is so convenient,
right?
Why is all this here? Because he's trying to make, talking about Freddy, Busta Rhymes is trying to make a good show,
right?
At one point we have to talk about the sacrilege of all sacrilege.
Yep.
Unless it's driving the narrative. But anyway, the sacrilege of all sacrilege is someone else portraying Michael Myers and not Michael Myers, or donning the mask. Well, there's a gag that is set up that when you watch the movie, you don't realize what you're watching.
Right.
Michael Myers, the shape, enters. Well, I'm not. How dare I? Michael Myers enters, not the shape anymore. Enters the house, closes the door behind him, is walking, is going, and it's a camera shot of him, and you're like, okay, scary Michael walking around. Turns the corner, and another Michael pops out from behind him and is trailing him. So you get some other points of view, and it's like there's two Michaels. They're just walking through.
Right.
What the hell? What the hell? I keep on saying it, and I'm like, what's going on? What am I watching? Did they mess this up? And then it is revealed as soon as the first Michael who entered turns the corner and catches a glimpse of the other Michael. It's Busta Rhymes in the Michael Myers costume, who was going to just go scare the shit out of these people.
Right.
So he loses it. God damn it. And that is actually pretty funny because under the mask, he's just letting it go. And you see the mask kind of move a little bit. And he's just going off on real Michael Myers, saying, because he thinks it's the tech that's been missing this whole time. So he's like, you're not playing Michael Myers. I'm playing Michael Myers. And Michael, the real one, never answers. So Busta's like, I said, what'd you looking at me like that for? And he starts poking him in the head. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to die like heinously.
Like he should.
Like he should.
If
like,
it's really Michael Myers, then
kill him.
Kill him.
But what does he do?
You don't touch Michael Myers.
No, you don't touch.
You don't mock Michael Myers. You don't dress like Michael Myers. You don't.
He
do
did
anything.
it all. He did it all right here. But what did he also do? He let slip a very key point. He's like, I left the back door open for you to go out there and help. That's what I did. I love that part. And so Michael's like, the back door's open. Gotta go kill more people. I'll see you later. What?
Yeah.
That's not what he would do at all. He's just gonna leave this wild card.
Nope.
So much.
I hate the way Michael turns around like, oh, okay.
Yeah, just an oath.
Like, oh, okay.
I'm like, oh,
I guess I'll go.
Another blockhead for us.
Fuck, man. It's so depressing to see this version of Michael just kind of.
It is. Right. It's just like someone understood, or not understood, but someone took the idea that Michael doesn't speak and that he walks in a methodical pace, and they exploited that to mean that he's stupid and that he could be like, you know, like just move him this way and he'll walk that way, move him that way and he'll walk this way.
Yeah.
So
it would have been a great MTV skit with Busta Rhymes, but it's not. It doesn't belong in a
that
film.
Felt like it was shot for the MTV Video Music Awards,
yeah, I was thinking the exact
or Movie
same
Awards.
Thing. I'm so glad you said that. Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Right.
So
it's one of those skits.
We've established that if you see Michael, maybe think that it might not be him or it is him. Well, there's a big deal because Michael Myers play as Busta Rhymes attacks or grabs the lead, Sarah, right?
Sure.
Stop. Grabs her, and the rest of the students in there start beating him so badly that he's just like, oh, turn off your cameras, turn off your cameras.
Like, what the fuck did you expect to happen?
He just gets his ass kicked because all his plan was just to grab her and like walk backwards. That's what he does, right? Oh. So remember I told you that I look for the best parts of each movie, at least one thing.
Okay.
This is not a good thing about the movie. This is just this is a diss or a I guess it's like I don't know. It's just a way that a line that Busta Rhymes says that I took from this movie, and if it was ever applicable, I used it very much all the time.
What was it?
As soon as he tells everyone to turn off their cameras so he can like talk to them, you know, by taking off his mask. He just got his ass kicked, and he's like, it's me, Freddy. And they're like, Freddy? And he's like, damn, man. You hit me like I murdered your fucking mother. I died when I heard that shit. And I was watching this with my cousin in North Carolina. The movie theater erupted for that part, which it's a funny line. I use that in high school. Anytime, like, I don't know, I ran into somebody and they touched me. I'm like, God, you hit me like I murdered your fucking mother. They're like, what? I'm like, I guess it worked in Halloween.
It was. This is what we talked about. We always know these lines and nobody else fucking knows them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, right. Well,
this is weird, dude. Just talking about mothers and shit.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, he lets them know that it was like, I was just trying to make a good show. Play along if you want to get any of this money that he's set up with, I guess, it's very loose, guys. He's just like, play along or get the fuck out. I don't give a shit, right? So he puts his mask back on. He's going to go scare people. So there.
Okay.
The movie ends up going to an inevitable end, which is everyone's going to die except the lead or the final girl. So now...
Whoa. Let's go back to Buster Rhymes because you missed one big chunk of him.
I don't miss a lot of chunks.
Well, they face off again.
Well, no. I was gonna. That's still after what I was about to say. I was just wanting to set it up. So everyone's died. You're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. It's probably the one thing that stands out the most about the film. People talk about.
Yeah. I'll let you do the line, as a matter of fact, actually. So
no, you're no.
So anyway, it sets up that she's gonna try and get away from Michael, but now because he's been watching live the entire time at the Halloween party set up earlier, Deckard is helping her through her. What is it, it's like a one of those device, but it wasn't a cell phone. It was just like what you had the stylus and everything. It was very, very popular. It was almost like a BlackBerry, but like it was huge and it had like the flap. Anyway, he's texting with her or emailing her to help her get through this whole thing because he knows that it's real. Everyone else is convinced. There's no way.
Right. He's at the party. He's got the big screen set up.
Right. And what a setup, by the way.
It was a great setup.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Rich party. Yeah. So all these people are watching the whole thing saying like, this isn't real. And he of course thinks it is. I guess for, again, punching in that this is the internet phase and we are chatting and all this kind of stuff. It makes sense, but it's just not interesting enough to me. Like he starts sending her messages and saying like, oh, he's in the house.
Right. He's helping her out. He's helping her out, which, actually, you know what? It did raise a lot of the tension, but you still, again, I can't be scared of Michael totally just because by this point you've shown me someone else wearing the mask. So I'm like, okay, so anybody could do this. And now I'm seeing Busta Rhymes as Michael too.
Right.
That's already in my head. So anytime he comes after her, I'm just not, again, the tweezing, the threaded eyebrows are just not doing it for me, man. No. Every time I see him, I'm just not afraid. So he's just, going after her and she's able to get away because there's cool moments where like she asks through the camera, she's like, where is he? And I think he says like, he's outside, don't scream. And of course she goes, and of course she screams,
right.
And it's just like, those are cool moments because at least the final act did get going. But I mean, gosh, this was maybe a 2-acter. I mean, honestly, it got to the end really quick.
Yeah, it's a super fast-paced movie. I mean, I was shocked watching it how fast they're in the house. Like you barely get an introduction to these characters. And again, like you said, you don't care about them at that point. Like you don't know anything about them, so why would you care about them? And they are just fodder for the canon. Like we want Michael. Somebody said that originally. I think it was after this movie. They started looking for what do we do with Michael now, and they're talking about reboots and they're talking to other horror directors and stuff like this. This is actually before Rob Zombie came into the mix, which we're getting to.
Yep.
But I think it was like Adam Green or somebody they asked and like, so what's Michael to you? He's like, we just need Michael Myers killing kids and that's it. And that's what we got in Resurrection. And it didn't work.
No, it didn't. But again, I think maybe the mask issue is the biggest thing for me. It may not be for a lot of people, but it is. But it also reeks of we're going to mass produce these so people can buy the masks. I remember that mask being available everywhere, that style. And I remember looking at it and be like, nope. On my face. And my face is bullshit. I get Italian when I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. No?
That's the Godfather thing.
Okay, that's my face.
There it is.
Anyway, set up final confrontation. She's getting away from Michael here and there. She gets on the roof. So she's already outside. So she should probably just like try and scale her way down and leave. But no, she goes back into the house because that's what you're supposed to do. Sets up again.
This is very lazy writing.
She's not a smart lead. And I hate that.
Yeah.
I want the leads to be smart. I don't care if they're final girl, final boy. It does not matter. Just make them intelligent because we appreciate that. Laurie Strode was very intelligent.
Right.
She wouldn't do anything that was stupid. If she wasn't, well, you go back to Scream. The reason that Sydney, Nev Campbell's character, does not want to watch the movie. She's like, well, no, what's the point? It's just some big-breasted girl running up the stairs when she should be running out the front door. It's insulting.
Right.
That is, you just gave it to us again. You're like, we're not going to reinvent the wheel.
That's where I go with the lazy writing of this movie. Is we've entered the era of calling those tropes out, those things like we know better, but still in this movie we went, well, fuck it.
We're just going to do it again.
We're just going to keep going.
Remember, we've had a Michael Myers spoof or a fake out.
Yes.
And it was Busta Rhymes, who is now actually the only remaining survivor besides Sarah.
Right.
And, grabs her and says, we got to get the, hell out of here. They're trying to go. He apologizes. He's like, I didn't know that this was going to happen. I'm sorry. Right. And then she gets a ping and it's, where's Michael? He's back in the house. And then they just do this thing where they're like, huh? And they look and he's behind them and he stabs Busta Rhymes, throws her down. And then here we go, baby. The time has come. Yep. Oh, I didn't know you were Michael Myers before, Busta Rhymes is saying. I didn't know you were him before. Now I know. I've been watching these kung fu movies earlier. Don't you know that I am very, very much capable of defending myself? So Busta Rhymes decides to kung fu the shit out of Michael Myers. Reverse kicks, crane kicks, punches, and he's connecting and he's hitting, and Michael is being affected by it. Are you kidding me?
Right.
But of course, Michael gets to, kick the shit out of Busta, gets away from him, and now he's chasing Sarah down to the garage. Right. You're excited. I could see that you're getting really excited. Why would I
be excited?
You're excited because the huge moment is coming. We think Busta's dead, or he at least has been knocked out. She goes to the garage. She has now started a fire. She didn't. Actually, she did start the fire. And then Michael gets there, and it's a bit of a back and forth. She gets away a little bit. She doesn't get away. She gets pinned down, falls down. Electrical equipment falls on top of her. A mixer is on top of her leg, and that is what's keeping her down. She cannot escape. Michael, amongst the flames, is tangled up in the wires. And this is before he's tangled up in the wires. He's about to get her. He's got his knife. He's going to kill her. And who comes busting through the door? Busta.
Through the door.
Busting through the doors. Busta. Busted through the doors. Showing that he's still alive and well. Flexes his mad muscles. Looks at Michael and gives him the line that everyone knows from this movie, if you know this movie at all. Trick or treat, motherfucker. Holy shit, if I did not just want to swallow my own tongue at that moment.
Yeah, I walked out of the theater.
Young Lance just like, screw it.
I'm done. This isn't my kind of movie.
I've always hated that shit. I've always hated,
Nothing makes sense in any of this because we've planted things in the house. She's in the garage now. There's a chainsaw that she brings out that she knows how to start.
Oh, right. She starts that up.
If you've never worked a chainsaw before, like most people are like, well, I pulled the thing. You got
to prime it.
So how long has this thing been in there? Did Michael use it? I mean, what? This house has been sitting there. It's the old haunted house. This thing's been abandoned, right? It looks like crap. It's all torn up.
And it's not Dangertainment's because why would they need a chainsaw?
Why would they need a chainsaw? Did they plant a chainsaw in the garage? That's where their system was set up. So exactly. It's not theirs.
No.
Whose chainsaw is this? Who put gas in the chainsaw?
Who did it?
So we saw at Michael's the blade and the chain hits Michael, has no, it affects him, but it doesn't cut his anything. It doesn't cut his shoulder or anything, but you see contact. So the chainsaw is useless. And then it runs out of gas.
Of course, as it does. That's when, she's done. And
there's so many plot holes and just so many things. You're like, what? The spices, did they plant the spices, or is Michael really cooking in the kitchen?
I mean, you could say that was planted by the Dangertainment people.
But and then they know about the underground thing because they planted a key for them to find to go to this huge underground chamber.
But they didn't go to the third level. That's where he's at.
Sure. And then you notice that the gates are, there's just so many things.
So many plot holes. That's like the director for it, probably, he's just like, fuck it, man. I'm just going to try my best. It's Dimension. So you got, your executive producer is a dickhead. So it's like, let's see how we do. So anyway, Busta tries to fight Michael again. Michael actually very satisfyingly to all of us finally owns him, pushes him so hard or throws him across the garage. He hits the wall, falls down, and we think that he's knocked out, obviously. But there's an exposed wire, a very big exposed cable. And actually, if what Busta said, that line didn't piss me off, what follows next really pissed me off. He gets the exposed cable, jams it in Michael's nuts, and Michael makes a noise. He goes, and they make it echo. It's like, oh, that's how you get him. Yep, electrocute his nuts. He falls back into the cables, gets all tangled, and he burns up with the shed. Busta saves Sarah. They leave. And, of course, there's a fire. Everybody comes, the fire department, the authorities. All right, they look at, the news crew is there, and Busta gives, of course, like a send-off, and he's very much himself. I hated all this part because, again, it's now turned into the Busta Rhymes movie. Yeah. Michael's transported to a hospital. At the hospital, the coroner is there, going through it. She's like, oh, another one? He's like, it's a celebrity. She's like, oh, I'll get my autograph book. The EMT's like, no, I'm not kidding. It's Michael Myers. Remember what I said? Remember what I said about Halloween 5? Anytime you can say his name correctly and effectively, it can be scary. That moment is actually pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I actually like the scene.
Yeah, he leaves, the EMT leaves and leaves her alone with the body in a body bag, which is Michael. And she's scared. Yeah. Because that is it. That is it right there. That moment of knowing, of appreciating and respecting the presence that is the boogeyman.
Right. Yeah. What you just mentioned was the Busta Rhymes thing and Michael Myers. You didn't book Michael Myers strong in this movie. You booked Busta Rhymes strong.
Who booked this crap?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But you didn't, you zap Michael Myers in the nuts. He makes an audible sound. He hasn't made a sound in 25 years, but now because you zapped him in the nuts, we're going to get a, ooh. Are you serious?
It's like Bowser being defeated or something.
Exactly. So what the hell's the point of this?
There's no point. Oh, there was a point. There was a point to get our money, and they got it.
They got our money. But you mentioned the final scene. Those are the two scenes that Michael is booked strong in. Is the final scene, the boogeyman scene, call it that.
Yeah.
And the opening scene somewhat.
Well, I mean, so just the actual final thing you see, which is sad because it was setting up that they weren't done, obviously. The coroner unzips the body bag, opens it up. It's like the mask has been burnt onto him. That actually looked pretty cool because you were like, well, what would your face look like?
Right.
Is what it should have looked like for Halloween 2. The mask melted onto his face. The hair's gone, obviously. And after further inspection, his eyes open up, and that is the end of Halloween Resurrection. You see that he is still alive.
I think that was the only scare that I remember in the theater. I didn't actually walk out. I do remember that scene, and everyone knew it was going to happen, but they drag it on just long enough. Like that was the only scene that seemed to be taken care of in a sense of like, this is going to work. And that was the only part I remember anyone jumping at in the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, this movie did terrible things for the franchise as far as making or keeping the scariness of Michael going. He was not. It reminded me of what happened to Freddy Krueger in the 80s, where kids weren't scared of Freddy. They had him on their pajamas.
Right.
And are you kidding? Freddy kills you if you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And now, in the 80s, he was very popular. He was on everything. He was on, he was as known as the president at that point. So what you're doing with Michael is like, you're just going to make this like lumbering oaf that can't, and is booked so weak. It's terrible. It's not. And he doesn't need to be booked strong. I don't want him to be like, he's not Jason.
No.
You're making a Halloween movie. It's supposed to be eerie and creepy, and it's in the shadows, and it's in what the characters themselves go through. And they set up I think they were trying to set up some weird connection between him and Sarah, because she sees an image of him and it's not him. So like, why are you having images of Michael? So many plot holes. It's exhausting talking about it, frankly.
Yeah, it really is. I don't really know where else we can go with it. There's not much salvageable out of this film. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. But,
no,
and like you just said with Freddy, like Michael's not commercial. Michael's like should be like the indie darling that everyone loves, but you don't fuck with.
Right, leave him in the indies.
Yeah, and you fucked with him. And
don't call him up.
Don't put him on cups, and you know what I mean? Like, don't commercialize.
He's
Michael.
still scary. Look at it. He's still scary little mug guy. Too. But anyway, that's
but you don't put that in the movies. You let Michael be Michael, and unfortunately, we did not get that in Resurrection.
No. So, folks, if you do want to see this movie, it's worth a watch to just see those ridiculous moments that I just mentioned. I think it's on.
If you have a throwback 2000s Halloween party, pop it in.
Yeah.
It'll do.
Or if you want to see Henry Rowan Gardner being a complete ridiculous horn dog and not pitch for the Cubs,
right?
And then you can put this on.
And Busta Rhymes Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Danny, you got anything else?
No.
Thank God.
This went way too long.
I know. I'm so sorry. How many kitchen knives do you give Halloween Resurrection?
0.
Easy.
0 knives.
Easy. Yeah. Try watch it once and then be done with it. Burn it like Michael gets burned. I guess that's gonna be it. Thank you for watching Halloween Resurrection. That's Danny. I'm Lance, reminding you to
lock your doors,
bolt your windows,
and thread your eyebrows and get a Haddonfield blowout.
And join us next time in our Slasher's Paradise. Peace. Give them the peace.